you wondered why I dressed like this, it's because I was hanging out with the young people. So we like to look hip with hop. Yeah, so I've just come from there, sharing my story with them. It was an awesome privilege to share my story last night at the dinner. And today I've got 10 minutes maybe to talk to you about my life again. But I really wanted to honour this family here who have just gotten up and spoken about their baby girl. Because parents are a big thing in a child's life. And this is my last talk for the conference. And I wanted to talk about my mum and dad and my 3 brothers today. It's really, really important to me that I end this session and end my time here at this conference by honouring them. Because 29 years ago, I was born with my heart on the outside of my chest. This is my heart that you can see beating underneath my clothes. It's on the outside of my body and it's only covered by a thin layer of skin. I was also born with clubbed feet. And 29 years ago, there were no scans to pick that up. So my mum, she got very, very sick and she was hemorrhaging before she had me. So they admitted her to hospital and told her to stop smoking and told her to look after herself, stop roaming around the hospital, Mrs. Te Kani, because you need to rest because this child is very sick. But we don't know what's wrong with her. So when I was born by caesarean section, my parents got a fright because there is not another child in this country with this condition who survived. So my parents raised me in a normal home. I have 2 older brothers. My oldest brother is 41 and my second brother is 37. And then there's me, I'm 29, so there's a big 8-year gap between him and I. And there's my younger brother who's 24. And my brothers, there's nothing physically wrong with them. They're very handsome young men. And so there was no explanation, as to how there would be this child who would be the only daughter to Mr. and Mrs. Te Kani. And she's born with this rare condition called ectopia cordis, which means that her heart's on the outside of her chest. And there's nothing that we can do about that. We can't put it back inside her chest because it's too risky and there's nowhere for it to go. Her rib cage is not fully formed. Oh, and by the way, she's not going to make it. Mrs. Te Kani, she's not going to make it. And you see the thing about my mum? She said this to the doctors. She said, nah, she's going to make it. She said, because if God wanted to take her, He would have done it already. She's going to make it. And see, my parents, they had a faith in God even though they didn't have a relationship with Him. They knew that, nah, she's going to make it. And my parents have been the most instrumental pillars in my life because they fought battles I know nothing about. My parents were told, yeah, she's not going to make it. There's going to come a phone call that's going to come to say that your daughter has passed away in the night. That phone call never came. For 9 months, my mum left me in Auckland Hospital, in Green Lane Hospital, and she would travel every week to come and see me. And she would leave me with doctors and they would touch me and prod me and do all of that sort of stuff. And my mother wasn't there. And so I'd scream and I'd carry on all kinds of things. And then my mum got to take me home. She took me home and she raised me like any of my other brothers. And my mum was hard on me. If I needed a smack, she gave me a smack. No hard on the outside of your body's going to change that. If you need a growling, you'll go and get a growling, missy. And so that's what my mother was like. She's a strong woman, my mum. And every time the doctors wanted to do something, she'd go, no, you leave her alone. And every time they said anything, she'd go, no, you don't know. My daughter's going to be all right. And so parents, powerful people. And when there are parents plus God, that's an amazing equation. my mum's still the same. I'm 29 and she's still the same. We went to a doctor's appointment to my cardiologist, and the cardiologist started saying, maybe there's a surgery that we can do because technology's further advanced now and we might be able to put your heart back inside your chest, Aisha. And my mum's sitting there, she goes, no, you can't. He goes, no, Mrs. Te Kani, technology is quite advanced now, and no, they've already told us there's nowhere for it to go. So she's still like, oh man, she's like a mallet on your head sometimes. And she's had to be like that. She's had to fight for every opportunity for me to be normal. Because family members said to her, oh, Moana, you should just forget about that baby. Just put her in a home and forget she exists. Because she's a curse for everything you ever did wrong. That's what she is. She's a mistake. You should forget about her. No. No way. And then when it was time for me to go to school, family members came to her again and said, oh, you should send her to a special school. Because she's probably not that intelligent. And my mum said, nah, there's nothing wrong with her. And all throughout my life, my mother has said to me, there's nothing wrong with her. And the thing is that the biggest battles have been between me and my mum. Me and my mum. See, because I used to have to do physio on my legs when I was growing up. And I would go, oh, it's sore, Mum, it's sore. And she would say to me, you better get in that room, girl, and you better do that physio, because if you don't, you're going to freeze up and you're going to end up in a wheelchair, and I'm not going to look after you. That's how she would talk to me. She would talk to me like that, straight up. And she would push me and push me and push me to the point where I'd turn around and say, I hate you. And she would just keep pushing me and pushing me and pushing me, because she wanted me to have a life that was as normal as possible. And if it meant that she had to stand there while I told her that I hated her, she'll do that. And you see, my mum's dealing with my life, and she's dealing with my brother's lives, and she's dealing with her own life. And she's looking after my dad all at the same time. Amazing, amazing woman. You see? And my dad, he's there too. Oh, my dad's a big softie, you see. Oh, leave her. Can't you see she's crying? Leave her alone. No, because that girl's, I'm not going to look after her. You can look after her. I'm not looking after her. My mum wanted me to be exactly who I am today. And so to all of you who are parents with children of your own, you are so powerful. So powerful. And the shaping and the moulding of who they will become. I am a strong woman just like my mum. And I'm a fighter just like her too. And you'll hear me say things like, no, doubt it, not going to happen. Where did I get that from? Yep. And so the fight that I have in my life comes from her. Because she is a pillar in my life, and my dad is too. And you know what? God was very specific about who he chose to be my mum and dad. And he knew right from day one exactly who I would need. That when the going got tough, my mum would get her tough arm and get me going again. And she still does that to me today. Every time something happens, she's there, she picks me up, dusts me off, boots my backside. I can't thank her enough. And so it's been awesome to be here with all of you this weekend. And the story continues. I'm 29. And when I'm 39 or 49, there'll be different things to tell you then. But for now, it's pretty awesome. Wouldn't change it for the world. Can't change it for the world. This is how it is. This is how it will stay until God says otherwise. So, bless you all. Thank you for having me. What an awesome privilege to share this, my story, with all of you. and to hear some of yours too. And so I pray God's richest blessing on you and your families and everybody that you represent, that as you go from this conference, you will take an impartation from God himself, and that you will continue to grow into the measure of who he is, more into his likeness, and that you will change the world just like this. Thank you very much.